Well, hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Steven. So, this week's blog is entitled Canaries in Coal Mines. And interestingly enough, it's about art. Now, we always talk about guns and we talk about political philosophy and things like that. Today's blog, I want to focus in on art, not necessarily for the interesting emotive experience that art can potentially exhibit. In fact, I want to look at art as a direct identifier of where a society is at any given time. And for this, I kind of go back in time, like I typically like to do. I look at some artwork from the antiquities, look at some Greek art, I look at some Roman art, I look at, or at least Romanesque architecture. I look at some of the masters that, during the Renaissance and the Baroque period, and then I extrapolate that out to where we are today. Now, art, as I argue, is a direct megaphone of society. You can understand where a society is by the art that it produces. And you don't necessarily have to be either a believer in that society or even an adherent to the subculture that produced the art. So, for example, as most of you guys probably already know, I come from a Jewish background. Um, I'm not Catholic, and yet I can appreciate Catholic art. Okay, just because I don't believe in the divine right of kings, I can still appreciate the artistic quality that was required in order to create something like Versailles. And candidly, had there not been a divine right of kings, something like Versailles would have never been created in the first place. So, art, like I said, has this sort of interesting, beyond simply being a transformative experience for the person that's looking at it, it also has the capability of sorting us where a society is at any given time. And then I look at where we are today and I look at the type of artwork that we're producing. And it's not, art isn't just necessarily a statue or a painting. It could be architecture. It could be the way we decorate our offices, things like that. I suppose you could probably extrapolate that I tend to enjoy imbibing alcohol from the way that, my office is decorated, but that's neither here nor there. Um, what I am fascinated with is the transitory nature of the art that's now being produced. When you look back at especially the religiously inspired art of antiquity, there was a tremendous level of complexity, an amount of time that was required. When you look at sort of our financial institutions, and I mentioned this in the blog, things like banks were built to have a certain architectural solidness. There was a reason that they were so ornate, so that people understood that the bank wasn't going anywhere, that it was a permanent fixture in society. That gave sort of a feeling of trust. Okay. Now we look at art and we look at banks and we look at buildings like that, and they're decidedly very, very minimalist. There's a suggestion that they may not necessarily be around for the long term. I think this actually does not bode particularly well for a society that prides itself on trust of the individual. In any event, I definitely think you'll enjoy the blog tonight or today. For those of you that are interested, it comes out on Wednesday morning. You can always access it at artemishq.com/blog. As always, I want you to train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. And above all else, stay safe.